Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Single Malt Review. It's sort of the end of our session today, so we thought we'd bring out something that I really, really hate, just so it can't be said that we only review stuff we give positive marks to. What's this one?
Well, today we're getting a bit off our beaten track. We're off to the West Indies, indeed to Trinidad, to some Angostura rum.
Now, Angostura, most people will be more familiar with the this ill-fitting label here, which has gone and been flooded by the studio lights. Never mind. Everyone knows what Angostura bitters looks like anyway.
Heading from
You don't need me to show
Venezuela
you.
originally, and
Yes, the essential ingredient in so many cocktails. But they're also a rum company, allegedly. I picked this up years ago now. It's their 8-year-old 1919 Angostura rum. It's not the only rum they make, so this could be an outlier. But you'll see.
well, Tim has tried this one before. I never have. I'm familiar with Angostura bitters, of course, but their rum I've never yet tried, so we shall see.
So it's well packaged. It's been presented as a fine rum. It's even got an individual bottle number on there. So you'd expect kind of good things, as I did when I picked this one up off the shelf sort of years ago now. But funnily enough, this bottle has a little more worth as sort of, for me, roughly describing everything that's wrong with rum in the world. And I'll attempt to illuminate why. Let's start with the nose.
Mature rum, according to development.
Mature rum. Well,
Particularly aged, no age statement or anything, but
no, it's 8-year-old rum. It says so on the
right, I
thing.
missed that. Goodness.
So we are dealing with, as far as rum goes,
yes, of course,
anyway,
sorry.
mature enough rum. It should be ready. And I mean, it's not too young. That's not the problem here. I will get into what the problem is. First off, we'll just nose it. That actually smells like supermarket vanilla essence.
It really does. Artificial or genuine, the little bottles of vanilla essence you'll pick up off the supermarket shelf. That is precisely what that smells like.
I don't know how this happens.
Could it be from aging in very fresh oak casks or something? Get that natural vanilla.
Because not even bourbon, which is aged in the freshest of casks, tastes this dominantly, or rather smells this dominantly of vanilla. It's just absolutely wild how much. This really does smell like a little plastic bottle of the vanilla essence. And boy, it doesn't even stop there, but we'll get into that as we go. We'll be as fair as we can. In addition to this wonking amount of vanilla essence, there is a little sugary rumminess, but it's very sort of airy-fairy. It's like candy floss, if you've smelled that. It's this sort of very, very sucrose kind of a thing. And of course, rum is supposed to smell sweet, but there's supposed to be a backbone of other things in there, fruit and wood and spice. And this one, aside from the vanilla, the most confusing thing about this is where the vanilla pod that I expect to be floating in the bottle has gone, because I really, really expected it to be there. Sorry, I thought it was about to be a cat invasion. There may yet be, but we'll hope for the best.
Now, is it right that some commercially large-scale produced rum these days is sweetened after maturation?
Well, that's the other problem that and increasingly more people who enjoy proper drinks, good malt drinkers for the most part, who are breaking into rum and discovering just how much of a quality. Well, not really whiskey, I suppose, but something very, very akin to whiskey. What a promising spirit and what a characterful spirit rum can be. They're finding that what so often gets in the way is the sweetening of rums. Rums, of course, not being governed by any particular laws. The rum making areas being a fairly non-legislated place, really, and they're very, very diverse. Rum's made all over the world. And usually closer to the third world than the first. And so it's not made in a very strict capacity. It doesn't mean it's not made well, but it does mean that there's certainly no governing rum body like there is for Scotch malt whiskey. So you can kind of do what you want with it. So you've got Solera rums, you've got proper aged rums, mostly Solera rums really. Who knows how this was aged? It doesn't mention Solera, so maybe it isn't. But the real plague, I think, is the addition of sugar. Because once you dump sugar into a rum, no matter how old or how nuanced or how good it gets, it's always going to be sort of painted over by this artificial sweetness. And that's what really, really annoys me about quite a lot of modern rums that are out there. As good as they are, they're hamstrung at a certain point by this artificial quality that they're given. But anyway, let's continue the post-mortem of this one.
That's impressively syrupy.
Yeah. Like, there's just no way there is not quite a lot of sugar in here. There is just no way. It really is like eating melted candy floss. The vanilla essence is there, and it's still huge, and it hangs around. It goes up the back of the nose, and it sits about, and it's... I don't like vanilla, as you may be beginning to realise. And it's actually quite unpleasant for me. I can tell that there is a rum in here somewhere, but it's just totally obfuscated by the... I can still taste it. It reminds me of taking antibiotics as a child. When you got this, what was very charitably referred to as coconut-flavoured
amoxicillin syrup.
Yeah, amox syrup. And it was one of the most heinous things I've ever put in my mouth. And this brings back haunting memories of that substance because of the sheer kind of cloyingly artificial vanilla-y awfulness that sticks in your throat. And I'm sure that's a artificial, I'm prejudiced against it for that reason, but that's certainly not the sum of its problems.
I took my fair share of amoxicillin syrup as a child who was occasionally ill, but I don't have that same reckoning. I associate it with artificial coconut flavour because of this, though, my mind and tongue are insisting this is a rum liqueur and not a straight 8-year-old rum.
That's probably a good way of describing it. This is a bit like the agavero as opposed to tequila. I don't know. It's really... I am at a loss as to how you end up with this.
But either the Trinidadian climate just fundamentally alters rum maturation so wildly as to produce this, or else there are some fundamentally different things in this which are not in your average rum from anywhere else in the world.
I really don't know. But the reason I got it out, because it certainly wasn't because I wanted to drink it, is this is a standout example, but it's representative, it's emblematic of a greater problem. We've tried the Ron Zacapa 21-year-old, or it might have been 23 upon reflection, I don't know, look at the video. We've tried the Diplomatico, these older rums, these in some cases over 20 years old rums, albeit from Solera systems, so maybe there's a question to be raised about how old they really are. And they're, because of this added sweetness, which is nowhere near as grievous as this one is, they still have that problem. They've still almost cut short their ability to age by putting in this component that is itself immutable. You dump sugar into something, nothing's going to happen to that sugar. It's just going to sit around. It's going to be sweet for the rest of that spirit's life. And it's going to impair its ability to age and gain character, I think, because the sugar will always just taste simple and sweet, and it's going to kind of relegate that drink to being simple and sweet, regardless of how old or how good the other components of it might be. And I think that's tremendously, tremendously sad. I think it's quite hard to find rums that are aged and don't have sugar added.
We've been lucky in we got to try from Dancing Stands Distillery the 14-year-old Murderer's Bay rum, aged 14 years in cognac casks in a cooler, temperate climate. No added sugars or sweeteners after the fact.
And that was one of the best rums we've ever
Yeah,
reviewed.
it was a much drier experience, but a lighter body and very clear, strong flavours.
And outside of, and you have to call that an astonishingly niche rum being made in bloody Nelson, New Zealand, but you can get proper, unmessed with, unmodified rums, but you have to get independent bottles, and they are much, much, much harder to find than independently bottled Scotch, even though in often cases it's the same companies doing it. Berry Brothers and Cadenheads are the two real heroes when it comes to bottling rums. I think Cadenheads always did it for the hundreds of years that company has operated, and Berry Brothers is coming into it sort of more and more, but they seem to be kind of hesitant to really bottle properly old stuff. Finding anything approaching 20 years old seems to be very, very difficult, and it's very, very expensive for any particular reason. So it's very, very hard to find unmodified rum. I think, don't quote me, but I think the Appleton Estate rum, which we have reviewed quite strongly on the channel, I believe that is unsweetened. It's also aged normally as well, so the age statement is real as opposed to Acelera. If that is sugared, it's done so quite reservedly, but I think that might be as close as I've tasted, at least, to a straight off the shelf straight rum without any tampering. Or at least that's what I'm going to try and believe anyway, because if not for that, then I've got no option for cheaper unmodified rums. But yeah, no, this is an extreme example of a larger problem.
It's a sticky, sweet and spicy cacophony of a beverage.
It's very sad, really. And I mean, this last few bits of a bottle, that's not a problem for me. The problem is more widespread. This is emblematic of a bigger thing. And I think people have mentioned it before in the comments that rum really can be tremendous. It can be absolutely excellent. It can, in some cases, more than rival malt whisky in terms of the diversity and the strength of character that it can provide. But this practice of dumping sugar in to homogenize is probably the best and worst word to use, because that's what it does. It homogenizes this potential diversity of character down into the same old thing. And that's really, really sad for those particular releases. And it's my hope, and I think it's a lot of people's hope, that in the coming years, we'll see some genuine craft rum come out of these companies, the Zacuppas and the Diplomaticos and the other big producers of these very, very popular
for all we know,
rums.
it may already be out there, just it's not yet penetrated to our markets.
One can certainly only hope, but anyway, I hope that was illustrative. As for scores, I don't know.
I'm not willing to assign a score to this one because it's so far outside my experience and what I have a frame of reference for.
Yeah.
I need more info
I am going to assign a score. I don't mind. I'm going to give this a 52. I think this is barely something worth drinking for me. Take away all this weirdness on it, and it will probably be a perfectly ordinary, if not very exciting rum. But as it is, what it's been done to it actually makes it unpleasant to the point where I'd almost just say no thanks whatsoever. So no, 52 for me, my lowest ever score.
So much like Angostura bitters, you'd save it for a mixer, but wouldn't really quaff a glass of it on its own.
I don't even want to mix this. Its weirdness would infect whatever I put with it. The limes would not deserve what was coming their way. There's perfectly good and much cheaper rums for mixing. So I don't know. It is a puzzle, but I hope that was illustrative of something at least.
It's been educational for me, certainly.
Yeah. No, I'm not even going to toast with this one. I'll do it with a jolly water jug. Slanger. We'll come back with something a lot nicer next time.